Good grand day, gems and jewels. I am your host, Corinthia Peoples, and this is Power in My Pivot, where we discuss how the extraordinary become extraordinary through the power of pivoting. Pivoting means the central point, pin, or shaft on which a mechanism turns. In this content, the central point is me and you. The shaft and the pin is our lives. And the mechanism is achieving our sought after goals, visions, and visions of ourselves. On today's edition of Power in My Pivot, I will share 5 points of pivoting from comparing ourselves amongst ourselves. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Yes, wonderful. Thank you for being and coming into the room. Welcome to Power in My Pivot. Power in My Pivot is a discussion. It's like an unfoldment of how along our journeys we've had to continue to pivot, whether that's been voluntarily or circumstantially or just by sheer survival. Let's talk. Let's talk about our soul's journey and the evolution of us as being human, having a spiritual experience here in our human bodies. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the room. This is a inter-participatory dialogue, so feel free to post your comments in the chat. If you have something to say, please join in. I would love that. So at this time, if you could like, share, and subscribe, that would be super awesome. I would love that. If you can like, share, and subscribe at this time. And for those who've done so, thank you so much for doing that. So I would like to wait for a few more people to come into the room, but I don't think I will. I have 1 thumbs up, honey. I will take it at this point. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. So let's pivot. Let's talk about this piece. This is what came to mind for me as I was like, as we move through life, right? As we move through life, we go through things, we have experiences, and really all of our experiences brings us right back to ourselves. It brings us right back. All of my experiences brings me right back to me. Yep. All of the thoughts and everything we go through brings me right back to me. And it brings you right back to you, everything we've gone through. So this is a piece that I want to talk about in terms of pivoting. And that's comparing ourselves amongst ourselves. That breeds self-doubt. I'm going to say that again. Comparing ourselves amongst ourselves breeds self-doubt. The definition is self-doubt is lacking confidence in yourself and your abilities, doubting who you are and how you're able to navigate. Self-doubt, right? So the first point, I want to share 5 points, right, about comparing ourselves amongst ourselves breeds self-doubt. So first point, identify that is what's happening. Identify it. Like, because a lot of times we go through breakdown, disillusion, start hating the person, disliking another individual, envy, hate. We don't want to govern ourselves like that, right? So the first piece is to identify what is happening, right? And a lot of times, like nowadays, we really can afford to move on autopilot. Nowadays, we need to really check ourselves and say, okay, and literally have the conversation and answer our own questions. People used to say that, oh, you can talk to yourself, but just don't answer yourself because that means you're crazy. I disagree. I think when we ask ourselves the question, we need to wait for our own answers, but we definitely, absolutely need to answer ourselves because that's how we grow. That's how we figure out what it is, what the problem is. So that's point number one, identify what is happening. I want to share a story with you. So a year or two back, I went to visit a friend. And this friend had an amazing space. Her space was like laid out, plush, beautiful, in a beautiful area, beautiful environment. She just fit right into it. So I went to go visit her. And I was like, oh my God, this is fabulous. Fabulous. And at the time, I didn't have my stuff on point. I was not playing in my A game status at all. So what ended up happening is that I started to become a little envious and I started to doubt myself because what I was doing is I was comparing where I was in my life to where she was in her life. That's what happened. And I know we do this all the time, and it can be the smallest of things that we can do it with, right? We can do it with jewelry, a particular friend having a piece of jewelry that we want. And we're like, why she get to have that? Why can't I? Or why? It could be soap. Yeah, I said soap. If this friend has a beautiful brand of soap and it's great, but you've never bought yourself that brand, you can begin to feel envious. But these are examples of comparing ourselves amongst ourselves that breed self-doubt. It could be a car. It could be a man. It could be a woman. It could be body type. It could be how you wear your lipstick and your makeup. It could be so many little things. It could be personality, right? When we compare ourselves amongst ourselves, it breeds self-doubt. We don't really get to be who we're supposed to be and have what we're supposed to have because we're too busy looking outside of ourselves. But we got to, number one, identify that that's what's happening. Because when we identify that it's not really that person I dislike, it's really I'm comparing myself to that person and it's making me feel substantial. It's making me feel not as substantial. It's making me feel not as powerful. If we can identify that, then we can approach it totally different and we ain't got to hate each other. We ain't got to hate. We can just congratulate, right? So number two is ask. Number one, identify. I'm comparing myself amongst my friend. I'm comparing myself amongst other people. I'm comparing myself amongst my sister, my brother, my cousin, my neighbor, my coworker. It can be the gamut, right? A stranger. So identify. Two, ask yourself, where does my lack consciousness lie? I'm going to go back into that story because it has so many gems inside of it. Where does my lack conscious lie? So when I was at the friend's house and I was like, why don't I have this? Why am I not, feeling okay in the space that I'm in? Because I wasn't doing what I should, be doing. So I asked myself, where is my lack consciousness? Now, this is what's going to happen when you ask yourself your lack consciousness. What's going to happen is you are going to have to really look at it, right? So if in this case, it was an apartment, it was living space. So I was thinking to myself, I can't afford this. I can't afford what she has. But I want it, and I'm comparing myself, and I'm envious, or I'm just like, oh my God, I can't have that. I'm doubting my abilities. I'm doubting my abilities. And sometimes it don't even turn into envy. It can turn inward into like self-loathing, self-hate, self-lack, self-destruction, you know? Yeah. So I had to ask myself, where is my lack consciousness? Why don't I feel like that I can have this place? Why don't I feel that I can afford to have something similar or something of the same caliber? So I had to go in to ask myself. Now, when you ask yourself, you got to be ready to self-correct. You got to be ready to self-correct, because what I noticed is that when I identified what was going on, number one, number two, I realized when I asked myself, why don't I have it? I was having a lack consciousness. I was thinking that I couldn't afford it. She had a better situation, made more money than me, all these things. That's where my lack consciousness lied. So now I've identified that I'm comparing myself to, I figured out, okay, I got a lack consciousness going on, and this is where it's at. I'm doing good. And if we all get this, man, we ain't gotta hate no more. We can just congratulate, because we're gonna do the work to get what we want. So I identified it. Don't make money, this, that, or the other. Can't find that kind of place. Yada dee. Okay? I'm going to stay with me, because I'm going to go back to this point. Number 3, don't govern yourself by jealousy, envy, and hate. Instead, identify the lack consciousness. Figure out how to shift and where you need to shift. For me, I needed to shift in the financial piece. I needed to have self-confidence in myself that I could afford higher rent, to have a higher standard of living. Right? So I'm not going to be hating on my friend. I need to figure out how I'm going to get to a level of satisfaction and enjoyment, because apparently she's there. She doesn't have that peace. She doesn't have that peace. We all have different pieces. That was not her piece. She manifested everything in our lives. If we look around what we have, we're manifesting it. Yep, we're manifesting it. So if you don't have XYZ, a man, the money, the home, the apartment, the area, the outlook, whatever it may be, you're manifesting it. There's a saying that says, look around you, and when you look around you, you will see what you believe. That is so true. Look around you, and in you looking around you, you will see what you believe. So if you're in XYZ type of situations, that's what you believe you can have, right? So number 3 was, we're not going to govern ourselves by jealousy, envy, and hate. Number 4 is self-correct from the inside out. So this is what I did. And self-correcting, I had to say, okay, this is what I want. I see this. Let me self-correct. Let me change my mind and say, I can have what I want too. I can do what I want to do too, whether it's travel or staying in that situation. I can do that as well. So I had to self-correct my thoughts. meaning change your thoughts. Change it from I don't to I can, I will. Simple. I don't, I can. I don't, I will. I don't, I am. Number 5, this is the game changer right here. Make a plan. Now, if you want to have that thing, or if you're comparing yourself amongst ourselves, which breeding self-doubt, so now you want to have that thing or live in that space or whatever you are comparing yourself to, in order to have it, you may need to make some sacrifices. Yes, I said it. Sometimes we can't have it all at the same time. Not saying we can't have it all, because I believe we can have it all. But do I feel like we can have it all at the same time? Maybe not. Maybe it needs to come in stages, right? Because I'm a firm believer that you're never brought to a situation that you cannot handle. So those things you may not be ready for internally. So yes, we can have it all, but not at the same time. So we got to make a plan to get that thing. So for me, I'm going to go back to the story. I thought that I wanted to have live in a fabulous place. Okay, so I was like, well, how do I make this happen for myself? Now I'm thinking about a plan, not to hate my girl, but thinking about a plan for myself, right? So I'm thinking, how can I make this happen for myself? So I had planned a trip. I had planned 2 trips actually. One to go to a wedding and another one to go to another event. And of course, the wedding, you got your friend, they're depending on you, or they really would like for you to be there. In my case, this friend would have liked for me to be there to celebrate her special day. Another event was, made as terms of a business commitment. And those people probably would have liked for me to be there. But I had to say to myself, okay, I got this. This is my finances. I can either take these trips and use these finances, or I can decide to move into another place, because my lease was coming up and it was time for me. It was going to be time for me to move anyway. So now was the time for me to really manifest this thing that my friend has that I so am enjoying, and for me to have it for myself. So in order to make my plan, if I am comparing myself amongst ourselves, then I got to make adjustments to get that thing. I can't be hating on somebody or this friend and I'm not making any adjustments to have the very thing that I'm hating on, right? So I said, you know what? I'm not going to the wedding. This was a big decision. It was really big. I was like, I'm not going to the wedding. The wedding is going to cost me X amount of finances. If I want to move in somewhere almost comparable, or that's okay, higher than I was setting my goals, then I need to make some adjustments. I'm not going to the other event either, because my finances say this. Now, if I stick and if I stay grounded in my finances and what I want, I can have it. So number 5 is you got to make a plan, baby, but you got to be willing to give up some luxuries, maybe some travel, maybe some fun time to get that thing. I'm not preaching to y'all. I don't claim to know everything. I'm just sharing my experiences and how I've pivoted and navigated through some interesting situations. And this is not just fundamental situations. This is internal situations also. So I'm sharing with you guys how I was able and managed to pivot within what I saw. The title of this show is Comparing Ourselves Amongst Ourselves Breeds Self-Doubt. I want to give us a tool, because a lot of times we lack the tools. I want to give us a tool where we don't have to do that. That does not have to be our reality, right? Yes, somebody else, a metaphysics minister or whoever, a Jan Van Zant, honey, Reverend Judy Ann, okay, could have probably did this in another way. But this is my version of bringing to you, comparing ourselves amongst ourselves breed self-doubt. Number one, identify. Again, I'm going to go through the steps. It was only 5 steps, and I'm about to get off of here. And I'm going to read the comment. Miss Gail is in the house, and she has something to say. Before I get to Miss Gail, I want to go through those points again. 1, identify. I am comparing myself. And comparing ourselves, that can lead us down a whole different rabbit hole. I swear to God. I know very well, but I'm so glad that I've decided to ask myself, where does my lack consciousness lie? What's going on right now? You can even ask yourself, what's happening? Why am I feeling envy? Why am I feeling like I don't have enough? Why am I feeling? It'll come, and the truth will come. You got to be really, really willing to know why, what the truth is. 2, 3, don't be governed by no jealousy, no envy, and no hate, honey. That don't help nothing. It helps nothing, because we give as we get. Reciprocity, karma. You hate on somebody, you gonna be hated on. And hating, that vibration is not a good look. It's not even attractive. It don't even feel good, honey. Our feelings will tell us everything we need to know. Number 4, self-correct. You feeling, well, she, none of that. That ain't even necessary. Self-correct, because it all lends in with us. I would love for us to be a better people. I would love for us to be a better people. But sometimes I look around and I see that we just simply don't have the tools. We don't know how. We wasn't, like Reverend Judy Ann said in the interview last time, we were never taught how to set boundaries. We were never taught how to say no with love. We were never taught that no was a complete sentence. We were even never taught how to self-love, because we were too busy trying to make it happen, trying to get what we needed to get, trying to survive, honey, trying to figure out all the dots and put them together, right? Number 5, make a plan. And that plan may not be all the things. You can have all the things, but not all at one time. You might have to sacrifice that trip, that new car, that fun time on the beach, laying out, communing with friends. You might have to get grounded. That's what I had to do in order to, since I was comparing myself amongst ourselves, I had to make some sacrifices and say, okay, this is what I want. Let me get it, but I can't do this, and that right now. Now, will that friend forgive me for not being at the wedding? I hope so. I hope so. Because when it comes down to it, self-preservation is not selfish. Self-preservation is not selfish. My grandfather told me that. I think he was a very wise man. And a lot of things that I've learned, I've gotten from elders that I really respect. And know that they wouldn't lead me astray. So with that being said, honey, let's talk about this stream over here. What is going on? Miss Gail says, we as Black people do that a lot. And oftentimes we're like crabs in a barrel, pulling each other down instead of lifting each other up. We don't want others doing better than us. Appreciate your insight. Thank you, Miss Gail. We are. And I didn't want to say that directly, but Miss Gail, you said it, and I'm going to go with it because you're so right. I was talking about Black folks, and particularly because, see, I'm Black. Black is not a race, but that's a whole nother thing, right? But we call ourselves Black, whatever. We Black, African American, Africans, whatever, right? But we do have a sovereignty. Yeah, with us. We do that a lot and do that a lot. So the tool is to identify what's going on. Why are you feeling that way? Ask yourself some serious questions so you can get out of the spiraling, so you can get out of the hate and envy. Don't be governed by hate and envy. You might have to make some adjustments to get what you want, because we all can have it. Stephanie Perry. Hi, Queen. Hi, beautiful. Hi, Stephanie. Miss you. Yes, Stephanie, so true. Yes. Stephanie said preach. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just wanting a solution, right? It's just, it goes so deep. It goes so deep. Like, this is the psychology of us, right? And all of it is relevant. The marching, the Black Lives Matter, all of it is relevant. Nonprofit organizations that help out, this and that. Well, this piece that I'm doing is relevant. It's relevant. We all have our pieces. Nobody is extinct. Everybody, we all have our pieces to play in this big old picture. So play your pieces. I encourage you to play your pieces. I'm going to play mine. And this is one of them. This is what I'm doing. Thank you, Stephanie, for being in the room. I appreciate you. Miss Gail, for the most part, we don't ask ourselves those hard questions. We don't, Miss Gail. As we're afraid of the answer. It's true. It's true. But now we can no longer be afraid of the answers. We can no longer be afraid of the answers. We got to ask ourselves the hard question. Even just recently, I had an envy experience. And I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? And we're human, right? We're human. So yes, we're going to feel emotions, the emotions of jealousy, envy, and hate. But honey, they don't have no place when you're trying to rise. When you're trying to be the best version of who you are yourself, those low vibrations have no place. I was just there. I was like, wait, what's going on? Oh, I am envious because I feel like with this other individual, I felt like they were doing their purpose. They were on point, and I wasn't doing my purpose. I wasn't on point. So there was some envy that came up, and I was like, wait a minute, Corinthia, how you gonna be on purpose? What's gonna bring you to being more authentic with yourself? Don't be hating on folks. Go in, ask yourself the question, because baby, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. It's inward. Very true, Stephanie says. Stephanie, what are you talking about? It is so deep. What? What you are talking about is so deep, insightful, and powerful. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. I am so glad you're getting it. Sometimes I ask myself, and even with this platform, and I know I might be just speaking to others too, I've asked myself many of times, what you gonna get on there and say? What, is people really gonna want to hear what you got to say? Well, the only way to know is to do it. That's what I told myself. I was like, the only way I'm gonna know is to do it. But it's been in my spirit for so long to have conversations, to pivot, to be a better person, to have a better community, to give solutions and have tools for us as a people. And this is my approach. Everybody has a different approach. This is mine. This is mine. And I'm gonna accept that this is my approach. And I'm glad you guys like it. I'm glad you agree. Put it that way, because we can't walk around wanting people to like what we do all the time either. We can't. We can't. But just know that there's going to be a few folks that's going to like what you do. And right here, the truth is in the pudding. Stephanie and Miss Gail is all right with it. I love it. We can't be afraid of the truth, man. But the truth stings sometimes. The truth sting. And I had to go to that person when I caught attitude. I was like, oh, well, whatever, whatever then. I had to go back and say, what happened right then, it was straight up envy. That's emotionally mature. I'm not even going to say that's a hard thing to do because it ain't hard when you are emotionally mature. I had the same feeling this morning and I had to shut it down. Okay? It's true. It all goes back to us. It all goes back to ourselves. I am so glad that that this dialogue, I come on. Powering Your Pivot is every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11, 12, 1 p.m. Central, and 2 Eastern Standard. I'm committed to showing up. I'm committed to showing up. Please come into the room. You are so welcome. It is an interparticipatory conversation. So just like Stephanie and Miss Gail are chiming in, honey, please feel free to do that. I welcome you to do that. So I offer a health tip every single Saturday. And because I don't want to talk about just the problem, I want to render a solution, right? So this was last week's health tip, and I'm going to bring it back for this week because I didn't do it myself. And I want to do it because, see, this is my thing. When I talk about something, I don't want to live hypocritically, right? So I want to do the thing that I talk about. That is so, so important for me. So I didn't do this as much, being that I have been busy and things have been all there. The weather has changed. But the health tip for last week was to go outdoors. In the open air without a mask and breathe fresh air and trust that you are safe and you are not under attack by COVID-19. I'm going to say that again. Go outside. If you already taken that mask off because Mother Nature said, I give you life, I don't take life. And if you believe that, you're on track. I'm not talking to you. But for those other folk, yes, because I want us to lead. I posted something to lead in love and not in fear. We got to lead in love. We got to lead in faith and know that we're okay. So the health tip for this week is to go outdoors without a mask and breathe fresh air and trust that you are safe and not under attack by COVID-19. It is mandatory and necessary that we breathe fresh air and not be in fear. We need sunlight. We are melanated people, and just as human beings, we need sunlight and fresh air. We need it for so many reasons. Respiratory, vitamin D, our third eye, our pineal gland, our eyes, adjusting them, our skin, our emotional state. Honey, don't let these folks keep you locked up in that house and y'all don't get outside and get some fresh air. That is the health tip for today, honey. Yes. Wait, Miss Sharon just chimed in. Miss Sharon says, I like the term pivots. As we go on this journey of life, we will pivot and we will grow in our humanity and material gains. Absolutely. Yes. 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 I agree, Miss Sharon. As we go on this journey, baby, we will pivot. We gotta pivot in order to grow our humanity. That's great what she said, because that's true. Like, what I am talking about is humanity. It's like, it's being a harmonious human that respects humanity. Somebody write that down. That was awesome. I forgot what it was already. But yes, it's about humanity. You know, when you decide not to be guided by envy, hate, and jealousy, you're being human and you're respecting all humanity. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. I appreciate that. So last week I shared a inspirational reading from Faith in the Valley by Ayanna Van Zandt. This week I won't do that. I'm going to move right along. I've been on here for 38 minutes. Typically the broadcast for Powering Your Pivot is only 30 minutes. I want to get on here, give you a dose of some good vibes, serve you up some great energy, a new perspective, some food for thought. You know, I don't know everything. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just bringing to you what's on my spirit and what I'm being guided to do. And I encourage you to do the same thing, because we all have pieces of this big puzzle that we must play, and everybody have to do their work. Yeah. So what inspired me this week? I do a what inspired me this week every week on Powering My Pivot. What inspired me this week was going to bed when I was tired, even though family, because you know this is a time where family's around and there's a lot more energy, and things are not as routine. It's been like that for me. But the inspiration was, even though family is around, was by me going to bed when I was tired, even though family was still up enjoying one another. I was empowered. No, this is serious. This is a piece of work right here. I was empowered to rest. When my body was sending me signals to rest, I was like, family, mwah, 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 smooches, mwah, love you. I'm going to bed. And I found me a bed, honey, a sofa, something. Because, when you all in the house, luckily I was in a space where it was okay for me to do that. And we have a family where we don't mind like doubling up in the bed. We'll be like, scoot over. We just trying to lay down and get some rest. So I'm grateful for that too. But yeah, that empowered me to just honor that I'm tired and I'm going to go to bed now. It's power in that, because what happens is you get a whole house permission to get some rest when you go get yours. Okay. So Louise, pivot girl. Yes, darling. Yes, we all are pivoting. Miss Louise Cutler does a Living Out Loud show. Find her on the Facebook, Louise Cutler. Throw out those gems. Yes, Miss Gail. Love you guys. I love you. Thank each and every one of you that joined in, that spoke, that had something to say, that added to the conversation. Because this is just not me. This is us. This is we. Honey, I'm a vessel being used. And that's another thing. That's another topic. Maybe that'll be the next one, but I want to say that it came up to me where people say, oh, I got used. He used me. She used me. They used me. And one day it came to me and it said, no one can use you when you are being used. That's deep. That's deep. I'm not even going to elaborate on that. I think I should put that in the comment section. No one can use you when you are being used. Ooh, child. Child. That was deep. I'm putting that in the comment section, and we're going to pick that up on another topic. So again, Power My Pivot happens every single Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 Central and 2 Eastern time, right? So let's pivot, honey, from basic to being bona fide. And always remember that you are better than that you are not better than anyone, and nobody is better than you. I'm going to say that again. Always remember that you're not better than nobody, and nobody's better than you, because there is power. There is power in our pivot. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you next Saturday. Thank you. Love and blessings.